Namaste, friends. Today we get to talk about the affirmation from Swami Kriyananda's book, Affirmations for Self-Healing, on good health, which happens to be one of my favorite affirmations because it really allows us as spiritual seekers, as devotees, to tune into that flow of cosmic prana, that life force of divine energy that's animating and creating all of our reality. And when we can flow in attunement with that divine grace, when we can feel that prana flowing through us and draw it into our body, into our mind and our heart, then we get to feel the empowerment of flowing in tune with the divine consciousness and all of the strength and wisdom and clarity that comes from being in tune with that divine source. When we're trying to work and act from the place of the little ego's self, then we get caught up and we get limited and contracted and we get frustrated. But there's this sea of cosmic energy flowing through us and around us in every single moment. And by being open and receptive and aware of that flow, we get to cultivate that good health, which good health is not about the physical body. It's all about our attitude, our state of mind. Of course, we know this coming back to each of our affirmations, that living in a state of good health or prosperity or happiness, it has nothing to do with the physical, material level and everything to do with our attitude and our consciousness. So let's begin this morning with a prayer calling on that divine vitality to flow through us. And we'll have a chant, I awake in thy light, all of which is just focused on drawing that divine prana, that life force, into our hearts, into our minds, flowing through every cell in our body as we celebrate good health and the prosperity of divine grace and divine life force flowing through us in every moment. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, and our beloved Guru, Paramahansa Yogananda, saints of all religions, humbly we bow at thy feet. Divine Mother, help us to feel your cosmic energy flowing through us and all around us. Help us to awake to that light, that joy, that wisdom and power. That we may be channels of your love, attuning ever more perfectly to your divine grace. Help us to feel your light, that we may share it with all. Om. Peace. Amen. Our chant today is very simple. I awake in thy light. I awake in thy love. I awake in thy joy. These are not just passive states of mind. They're not just fleeting attitudes. They are divine qualities, light, love, joy. They are aspects of the divine, which we hold within us, which are our true nature, if we are willing to strip away the ego's hold, the pull of Maya, and to feel that wisdom, that joy, in this case, that light, that love, and that joy flowing through us. I awake in thy light. No more will I be caught in the storms of Maya. I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light, I awake in thy light, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy light, I awake in thy love, I awake in thy love, I am joyful, I am free, I awake in thy love, I awake. As I was saying earlier, good health is not actually about a physical state of the body. As we know, everything is comprised of consciousness. Everything is is vibrating with and impregnated with, it's imbued with that divine cosmic energy that's flowing around us at all times, this prana, this life force. And we know this to be true even for our own bodies. If that life force that's flowing through us, that's animating even our own physical body, if it were to leave tomorrow, if that life force were to be cut off for any reason, then no amount of material plane energy, food, water, sunlight, oxygen is going to bring that body back to life. What truly animates our reality, what truly comprises all matter, is cosmic divine energy. And when we understand that and flow in tune with that divine cosmic energy, then we are opening up in expansive harmony to that divine source. And instead of getting contracted and limited by those things which we know are going to pull our energy down and keep us stuck and rooted, we can expand into the lightness of the positivity, of the say yes to life, of the finer, the subtler vibrations. And we know this to be true, that energy affects so much of what we do. If I walk into any space, immediately I can feel what the energy is in the room. And we all have that experience. If you enter into a place that's really dark or downward pulling, what we call tamasic, the energy is really heavy and dense, you feel it automatically. And maybe it doesn't resonate in tune with you and you say, I don't like it here, I think I'd like to leave. Versus if you walk into a place such as a church or a temple like this, where people have come together and they're celebrating that light that is God, that light of the divinity and that divine source, and they're calling upon that goodness and that light, we feel it automatically. It's uplifting, it's expansive. Suddenly our heart is open, our shoulders are back, we feel more in tune, we're resonating with that quality of light and creativity and inspiration. And this is in essence what good health means. Good health is one way station on the path toward wellness. And wellness is an attitude that is cultivated in the mind. The physical body may be healthy or unhealthy, but wellness is something that is ours to hold. No matter what, we can live in a state of wellness. No matter what the physical body or the emotional reaction or to the circumstances are around us, we can choose wellness. And it's that process of withdrawing the energy, offering it up to the divine. It's what we learn in meditation. We learn to cut off that reactive nature that draws us out into the senses right away, that tells us, I don't like this, I can't have that, I won't do it this way. That I won't, I can't, that naysaying attitude is what creates the limitations and the boundaries that the boundaries that keep us stuck, that keep us rooted in unwellness, that keep us rooted in that state of ill health, of dis-ease. Disease is simply a state of counter-attunement with that divine life force that's flowing through us at all times, counter-attunement with the divine will and the divine grace. So anytime we're contractive and restrictive in our nature, we are at odds with that flow of divine grace. We're in that state of dis-ease. I'd like to, before I talk anymore, I would like to share what Swami Kriyananda writes on good health and use this as a launching point to talk a bit more about what the state of dis-ease truly is and how we can work through our attitude, through becoming aware of our energy and redirecting our energy inward and upward to the point between the eyebrow, how we can cultivate good health, how we can cultivate wellness in our own lives. Good health is more than a state of not being ill. It is a radiant state of inner well-being. Physical illness may be cured by medicines. No medicines, however, can induce that state of boundless energy which comes when every cell in the body cooperates with the mind willingly, joyfully, in all that it seeks to do. No medicine, however, can induce that state of boundless energy, which comes when every cell in the body cooperates with the mind willingly, joyfully, in everything that it seeks to do. Such radiant well-being comes after the mind has been cleared of every shadow of unwillingness, of fear, and of doubt. When one has learned to say yes to life, and when one has learned to love. It's so powerful where Swami Kriyananda takes us at the end of this affirmation, that good health is essentially about our ability to learn to love, to live in love, to be love. I awake in thy love. As I was saying earlier before our chant, these are not just passive states or passive qualities that we hold for a little while and then we let go of them. Love is an active, dynamic state of consciousness. And that consciousness has the ability to magnetize more positive energy to us. So when we are living in that state of radiant well-being, of good health, what we're ultimately doing is we are welcoming that expansive quality, which is why he says to us, it's about saying yes. Think of Sister Gyanamata, who had so many physical ailments in her life, and she was so quick to say yes to anything that her master, that Paramahansa Yogananda, asked her to do. She was so ready and willing to give up any comfort on the material plane, regardless of her physical state of being, because her attitude was one in which she was living in a state of wellness. Even down to the fact that she says to one of her sister nuns who was on the phone with Paramahansa Yogananda, and it was clear that he was asking Sister Gyanamata to do something, and that nun was just softly saying, she's having a very rough day, her body's giving her a lot of trouble, and she calls the nurse in and she says, whenever the master asks me to do something, either through you, you say yes and make it snappy. Why? What is that quality of positivism? How does that quality of positivism actually cultivate good health? It's about expansion. Think about this. Anytime we can take something on a tangible material level, if I eat a really rich, heavy meal that's full of cream and butter and fatty foods and that feels really just thick and heavy, suddenly after that meal, I may be enjoying it in the moment, but the energy of that meal is actually very dense. It's very heavy. And after the meal's over, I feel rooted down. Think of every Christmas meal or Thanksgiving meal that you've celebrated, and afterward you just sit back and you're, that feeling of just being so full and so thick. And then even throughout the night, oftentimes we have a restless sleep that evening. We're just craving water, and we want to find some way to kind of cleanse the body, to lighten the body again. And it's not because fatty foods are in and of themselves terrible, or enjoying and indulging in a beautiful Thanksgiving or Christmas meal is a bad thing to do, but it's that heavy energy, and that energy that kind of just drops us down and keeps us rooted and stuck in any one place, whether it's the type of foods that we're eating. If I were to have a nice clean salad that was made with raw foods and raw vegetables and fruits and nuts and maybe just a little touch of oil or vinegar for taste, I don't feel that way afterward. And of course we know this, yes, it's healthy to eat salads, and it's not so healthy to eat a meal that's laden with butter on a day-to-day basis. And so there's those qualities of actual material plane physical good health. But what we're actually tuning into and resonating with is the vibration and the energy of it. And when that energy is rooted and dense and heavy, we feel stuck. And the same thing can be said if we take it beyond the body into the mind and into our attitude and our energy. If we say no to something right away, if someone says to us, I want to put together, I want to do this project, but we need to start really early in the morning. So would you mind coming and meeting me at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning to start this project? And you go, oh, come on, I don't want to get up. Why do I have to get out of bed? This isn't fun. Why can't they do the project on their own? And just all of these lamentings of I can't and it shouldn't be, why do I have to do it this way? We're getting stuck, just like that heavy meal that's dropping down, that's rooted in our stomach, and all of the work that our digestive tract needs to do in order to re-cleanse or to purify that. The same thing can be said for our attitude. When we're heavy and dense, we're creating blockages in the astral spine. And these blockages, they come not only from our karmic patterns. So part of it is our karma, our past life, the past life circumstances and situations that keep us rooted or create these vrittis and these whirlpools of feeling. But there's also that reality that our initial reactions to things, they can contract us or they can help us to expand. And this is really one of the essential questions on the whole of the spiritual path. In every moment, moment by moment, one of the ways that personally I check myself and try to be more objective in my own, experiences when my emotions get involved, or when that little lamenting voice, if I can't or I don't want to, gets involved. So I ask myself, am I expanding in this moment? Do I feel more expansive with this response, or is it contractive? Right? And sometimes it's not to say that we have to say yes to every single thing without discernment, but it's about allowing the energy to flow freely, because this is the attitude that cultivates true wellness. Wellness is not a state of being in the body, but we have that power to magnetize wellness in our attitude by being open to the flow of divine grace, by being open and accepting to what's trying to happen in our lives. And the way that we do that is by being positive, by saying yes. So we can come back to what Swami Kriyananda tells us here. When we look at good health, sorry, I lost the page, but let me come back to it. When Swami Kriyananda can say to us, no medicine can induce that state of boundless energy which comes with when every cell in the body cooperates with the mind willingly and joyfully. That divine life source of prana that's flowing through us that we can draw upon in any moment, that prana, that subtle life force, is resonating in tune with the divine. And it's our mayic compulsions, it's our egoic compulsions, that draw of Maya, which keeps us in disharmony, or which causes us to kind of fall off the tracks into a disharmonious resonance with that divine. So that prana and that life force, that is flowing around us, is always available, and we can always attune to it. And when we lift up our energy, think about like power standing. Why is it that that this used to be a thing before you would go into an important meeting or an interview, standing with your arms outstretched and facing up to the sky? What's really happening in this moment? My heart is open. My energy is flowing up. I'm inviting grace to flow down. Whether someone is a spiritual seeker or not, that same flow, this position, is still calling on and cultivating the energy of the universe and drawing it in, opening the heart, being ready and willing to say, yes, there's a power and a strength that I can draw into my own being. And when that energy, when that power, when that strength is flowing through us, that light, that love, that joy, any of the aspects of the divine, when it's flowing through us, then we are bolstered by God's grace, and we're flowing and acting in tune with God's power, God's strength, God's wisdom, and that creates that quality of good health. And so our affirmation for this week, or before I get to our affirmation, that's why he comes back to us and he can say to us, when one has learned to say yes to life, when one has learned to love, that the quality of love is equivalent with that ability to say yes to life, because when we are opening our hearts, when we're listening for the divine, when we're willing to be accepting and have that attitude of leaning into the divine more and more readily, then we're actually opening the heart to that receptive power of God's love. God is love. Sat Chit Ananda, ever present, ever existing, ever pure bliss. Ever new bliss. When we're resonating in tune with that quality, that love, that divine energy that's flowing through us, when we're calling upon that source and saying, I can't do this on my own. My power, my strength does not come from me alone. The little self is merged into the great sea of the divine. When we can live in attunement and resonance with that, and we can remember to call upon that quality, then we're acting with the strength of the divine. And we are impregnating every cell of our body, every thought that we have, with that divine consciousness. And this, of course, is what we're trying to do moment by moment, is to stay in tune, to remember who we truly are. And so we get caught up, and it's natural, it's the human condition to get irked and frustrated, and the emotions come into play, and dis-ease and physical ailments will come. But we don't have to be limited by what's happening on the physical plane. That we actually have the choice to open our hearts and to listen for and find that attitude which is cultivating positivism, which is cultivating good health, which is cultivating wellness. And then when we draw that energy in, no matter how weak we may be feeling, if we call upon the divine, she cannot resist but come down to our call. She cannot resist but answer the call and come to us and wrap us up in her arms. And we can impregnate every cell of our body with that energy and that wellness. And this is how miraculous healings can happen. It's not that that's a guarantee, but true wellness is not about what's happening on the physical plane. It's about what's happening with our attitude and with our heart. And so let me read the affirmation through just twice so that we can share in this quality of good health. My body cells obey my will. They dance with divine vitality. I am well. I am strong. I am a flowing river of boundless power and energy. My body cells obey my will. They dance with divine vitality. I am well. I am strong. I am a flowing river of boundless power and energy. There's so much joy in this affirmation, which is why it's one of my favorites to share and to repeat for myself. My body cells obey my will. They dance with divine vitality. There's such joy and magnetism and energy in this affirmation. And just imagine every cell of our body filled with divine light, dancing with that vitality, that prana, that life force of the cosmic design, of cosmic consciousness. I am well, I am strong. I am a flowing river of boundless power and energy. We are not limited by the constraints of the material world. We are not limited by the constraints and the constrictions that happen in our emotional states. We are so much more than anything that is limited by that egoic reality. And all we need to do is break through, to penetrate through that force field and to feel that divine light, to feel ourselves as energy, as that prana flowing through us. Just like for those of us who know the energization exercises, that very last exercise that we do in these 39 exercises is to feel ourselves as a part of that cosmic flow of grace and energy, to feel the body as energy, because everything is made up of that divine consciousness. There is no other. It's only our mind, it's only the delusion of the ego that keeps us contracted, that keeps us laden down and heavy, just like that rich, buttery meal. But we have the ability to lift up our hearts, open our arms, and call upon the divine to come into our being, to shift our consciousness, to transform any little areas of light and of shade, just like he says here. Such radiant well-being comes after the mind has been cleared of every shadow of unwillingness and of fear. We are not fear. We are not unwillingness. There is no state of being that is natural to the soul that is contractive. It is simply our task to power through them, to call upon the strength of the divine, to feel that love and to move forward knowing that we are one with that divine source, that we are one with that divine wisdom, that power and that grace, and to feel that impregnated in our being so that we too can be sources of that divine light. So let's end today with our prayer, calling upon the divine to offer that good health, but more important than the health on the physical level or even on the mental and emotional level, it's to know that we are one with spirit, that we are one with that divine whisper that has all of the strength and power to obliterate any obstacles that are in our way. We are limitless if we can truly attune to that divine source that is flowing through us. O mighty source of all that is right and good, help me to see my strength as an expression of thy infinite power. Let me banish the darkness of disease. It is forever foreign to thy light. Let me banish the darkness of disease. It is forever foreign to thy light. You are a spark of that divine light. God bless you.